You're live.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Wednesday, April 28th, 2021, the regular meeting of the Oakland Mayor and Council, and it's via Zoom. Roll call.
Mayor Schwager?
Here.
Councilman Bialy?
Here.
Councilman Kamala?
Here.
Councilman Slasinski? It's here. Councilman Pignatelli?
Here.
Councilman Talamini?
Here.
Councilman Van Eck, absent.
Motion
Is there a
excuse.
motion?
Motion excuse, Councilman Van Eck.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We dispense with this salute since we're not in person. Please take a moment of silence. Thank you. Meeting announcement. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, duly announced, submitted to the newspaper, and advertised more than 48 hours in advance of the meeting, and notice posted in the municipal building and on the borough website. We are meeting in accordance with the regulations set forth in the state virtually. And my mayor's report. I have been asked by the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional School District group of parents that perform Flow Follies every year. And they asked me to read the, as you all know, Flow Follies is the annual show that is written and played by the parents and friends of the Ramapo Indian Hills School District. This show is their biggest fundraiser, and the money used from this fundraiser is for high school seniors scholarships. This is their 35th year. It's 35 years of Flow Follies shows. However, as we all know, this year is very different, and it is going to be virtual. And it's called Presenting This is Flow Follies, a retrospective of the last 35 years. The producers are inviting Ramapo and Indian Hills staff and community leaders and volunteers, that includes all of us, to share a few words of congratulations and encouragement to the Flow Follies organization and the 2021 graduating classes at Ramapo and Indian Hills high schools. If you want to produce a little small video and send it to Flow Follies, you could send it to Andrea Levy, who she's the producer, at FF, meaning Flow Follies. So it's ffoperations@gmail.com, or you can text your congratulatory statements to Andrea at 201-739-8278. Originally, the deadline was today. I personally extended it to Friday since I'm announcing it tonight. The virtual show is May 7th, 8th, and 9th. $10 a ticket. Remember, it's a fundraiser for the students, the graduating seniors, for scholarship money for colleges and other schools.
What was that email address, Lynn? One more time.
I'm just going to repeat it. So if you want to send a congratulatory video, you send it to FF, standing for Flow Follies. So it's ffoperations@gmail.com, or you can text your statement to Andrea at 201-739-8278. If you want to buy tickets, the tickets are $10. You can go to flowfollies.org and go to their website, and you can find out how to get tickets. Now, she told me if anybody wants to say something tonight, she'll be watching, and she can just, if anybody wants to congratulate Flow Follies, you're welcome. What is that? You're welcome to do something. But if anybody wants to say anything, you can congratulate we all congratulate the graduating classes of Ramapo High School and Indian Hills High School. We wish you the best, a very successful Flow Follies. I have participated briefly in the Flow Follies, and I know that Councilman Kamala has participated. It is a very interesting experience. It's fun, and I give so much credit to the parents and staff who work on Flow Follies, all for scholarship money for graduating seniors. Does anybody want to say something? If not, I'll continue.
I'd like to say, I'd like to congratulate everybody. All the time that you put in.
Give your name first so they know, so when for the video.
My name is Pat Pignatelli. I want to congratulate everyone from Flow Follies. I know they put a tremendous amount of time in. They put their heart into it, and it's reflected in their performance. So congratulations, and looking forward to another 30 years. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, you could send it to what I told you before, ffoperations@gmail.com, or text 201-739-8278. The next item I'm bringing up is cannabis. You all know that cannabis, which is everybody refers to as marijuana, is legal in the state of New Jersey. And it was passed by the residents of New Jersey and the law by the state legislature and signed by the governor. Now the borough must decide what to do. They put the onus on each municipality. If we do nothing by approximately August 20th, the state can come in and put whatever they want in each town. If we oppose everything, we have time to then come up with some kind of regulation. I want everybody to know that there are 6 licenses. So when you say either yes for marijuana or no for marijuana in our town, you have to really specify. There's a license for cultivation. That's the facilities to grow and cultivate. There's a license for manufacturing. That is preparing and packaging. There'll be a license for wholesaler, retailer, distributor, and delivery. It was suggested by Councilman Ben Eck, who unfortunately cannot make it tonight. I think he's still on the airplane. We were going to talk about that. We talked about this, and he suggested, which I thought was a great idea, and I reached out to residents. We have some time. If we start working on the ordinance in the first week in June, it will give us a lot of time. So I'm asking for a committee of 2 to 3 residents pro of any of the licenses in town, 2 to 3 residents who are so absolutely adamantly opposed to having any form of marijuana in town. I'm asking Councilman Ben Eck, who is in favor of the licenses. And I'm asking Councilman Pignatelli to be on this committee because you have, Pat, you have the knowledge from the healthcare side of it. So I hope you will consider being on this committee.
Absolutely, I agree.
Thank you. And Michaud, what's his name? Michaud from the Board of Health is going to be on.
Pilucci.
I couldn't pronounce it. Thank you.
Pilucci.
And he has some good ideas on the health side. So I thought that was very good. So if there are any residents who would like to be on this committee, I have 2 very favorable residents. I have one who will be talking about the health side with Councilman Pignatelli. And please contact me at mayorschwager@oakland-nj.org. Or tonight, during the open portion, please give me your name and then I will contact you. Remember, there's a state line deadline of August 20th. So we're going to have to work quickly. So this committee is going to be a very quick committee. It's going to be during the month of May, and you're going to do research, and we're going to work together and come up with a really good idea. In the meantime, more rules and regulations will be foregoing in the state, and we can make a presentation. I'm hoping the first week in June. With that, yes.
I'd just like to say, because of your announcement at the meeting, several residents have approached me regarding.
Oh, good.
Yes, and they specifically said you asked them to.
Oh, good, excellent.
But I have to say,
you'll send names and we'll coordinate a meeting.
Yeah, I did hear from people and opened my opinion a little bit more about the marijuana sales. So it's not that I'm against it. It's just that I'd like to have more information.
Right. And like I said, you're the perfect person for the health side,
Thank
to
you.
talk about that aspect of it. So thank you.
Linda, Mayor,
everybody-
can
yeah.
Mayor, can I give a 2-second overview about the marijuana webinar?
You could do it on your, let's
Okay.
finish this. All right. You can
Okay.
do it later. I'm sorry. Do it during your council report.
Okay.
Shredding. If you're still collecting all your documents, shredding is May 8th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You got that, Councilman Bialy, so you don't miss it. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. May 8th, Saturday, in the municipal parking lot by the municipal building. Because of the abundance of cars that came last time and the many boxes of documents, you are limited to 4 boxes per vehicle. So May 8th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's a Saturday morning, municipal lot, 4 boxes. Now, we've had an interesting couple of days, and I'm going to give a timeline of the biggest issue for tonight, which is the Patriots Way Bridge. I think everyone deserves to hear what I'm going to say, because I think it's very important that everyone understands what is going on. An email was sent out on October 27th, 2020 from the administrator answering Mr. Slabowski from the RRR. And I'm going to call him Larry so I don't keep mispronouncing his name. I apologize. I took some antihistamines. My allergies were awful today. So Larry, no disrespect, but I'm calling you Larry. He's the he's the manager of Rampo River Reserve. This is a response from the administrator to Larry. The necessary funding has already been authorized by the governing body, so that should not be a factor in the project schedule. So as of October 27th, 2020, we were going forward. It was in our budget. We were all set. It was going to be 4 point something. We had 1 point something million in grants. We were moving forward. Everybody was on the same page. Fast forward to February 18th, 2021. We get an email from Boswell Engineering with a project schedule. And it says test pits completed November 9th, 2020. Plan set transmitted to the utilities November 18th, 2020, showing temporary relocation support for review and concurrence. Submission to DEP, those are the permits. December 16th, 2020. Responses to DEP comments transmitted on January 29th, 2021. So now we're into this year, we're into 2021. Anticipate receipt of permits from DEP ends of March, April. Advancing completion of plans and specifications, firming up engineer's construction cost estimate, finalize contract documents, and then starting for bidding, end of March, beginning of April. Award contract, end of April. Begin construction. Assemble temporary bridge, end of May, approximately 4 days. Cap gas line. Relocate water line onto temporary bridge. Utility work completed by end of June. Existing bridge demolition, July. Erection of new bridge, August through October. Permanent relocation of water line, removal of temporary bridge, paving, October. Open new bridge, maybe, possibly, anticipating mid-November. Project completion, ends of November. March 5th. I'm reading some of the chronology of the emails going back and forth. I went through all the emails. On March 5th, I received some emails from residents on Glen Gray Road. They're very, all excited about the bridge. Excited, not happy excited, but nervous excited, because they're worried about all the traffic. I responded to the residents on Glen Gray Road that as soon as we received a concrete timeline, or as close as to a concrete timeline as possible, we will schedule a meeting with the residents of Glen Gray Road. And I promised to keep them notified. They were worried that we were going to be meeting with the residents of the reserve and ignoring the residents of Glen Gray Road. That's March 5th. March 22nd, 2021. We get an email from the administrator. Boswell's latest cost estimate is about 1.3 million above the amount of funding on hand for the bridge replacement project. I think we need to discuss how and when to proceed and look for other funding. So I get a call from Larry, actually an email from Larry of the reserve. It's time for a meeting. So I said, sure, we'll have a meeting. So the only ones who could attend for that time period was Larry, Michelle, who is the association president, John Yakimic, and myself. I go to the meeting. I don't bring any paper. I'm waiting for the timeline so that I can make notes of the timeline, because now it's already mid-April. We haven't heard anything about the permits. We do know that, to backtrack, we do know that the state came in July and inspected the bridge. And they gave a report which was not received by the borough until, if I'm correct, February of this year. It took them that long to inspect the bridge and send us their written report. The report says, bridge is satisfactory, don't worry, it's not gonna fall, don't worry, people are not gonna get hurt, it's in good shape. All right, so we figured that's good. In the meantime, people will be satisfied that the bridge, and that's what I thought we were going to talk about on April 15th. I sit down at the meeting and my engineer from Boswell says, I have some bad news. I said, oh, I'm thinking, a little delay. We can't do the bridge this year. I looked at Larry, I looked at the president of the association, and I said, I'm just hearing about this for the first time. I've been to finance committee meetings. I've talked to Grant Van Eck, who's on DPW. I called John Bialy that day. I called Rich and I said, what? I don't think there's any councilman who heard that this bridge was not going to be, raise your hand, tell me, did you hear that the bridge was not going to be built this year? There is no way we knew this. Then we get a letter from another email from Larry to sum up the meeting that we had on April 15th. And it's a summary. And he says, Dear Linda and John Yakimic, our engineer, as a follow-up to our meeting on Friday, April 16th at the Round River Reserve Clubhouse, please confirm the following. The Patriots Way Bridge will no longer be replaced this year. The project cost has increased to approximately $5.3 million. The bridge was actually inspected in June, July 2020 and declared satisfactory. The town has started petitions seeking support for the Patriots Way Bridge funding request, making it to Congressman Josh Gottheimer. That is true. That's when the letter writing started. In the meantime, we get another email on 4/23. So 4/16 was, I think, that Friday. So the following week, we get a summary from Boswell Engineering. And the important dates on the summary, if all of the councilmen read it, it was sent to everybody on April 23rd. On March 4th, first paragraph. On March 4th, 2021, representatives of the borough and I met virtually with members of the board of directors of the reserve, where we had indicated that plans to advertise for bids to replace the superstructure were on schedule to occur within the next month or so. Dated March 4th, 2021. March 22nd, 2021. The final construction cost estimate was complete at $5.3 million and was forwarded to your office to conduct discussions on the shortfall from the $4 million appropriated for the budget. So my question is, how could we be short? And it's not for an answer. This is just a throwing out question in my mind. I sat here, as you all know, my husband's an accountant. I said, what could happen between March 4th and March 22nd that all of a sudden we find out we're $1 million short? Nothing from the finance committee. I thought we budgeted as a capital project, the money for the bridge. So that will be discussed during this meeting, I am sure. And with that, I will open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Michael, or who's Michael doing it?
Yes. If you're a member of the public and you wish to provide public comment, you must click the raise your hand icon or *9 on a mobile phone. You will be unmuted and then recognized. So again, raise your hand icon. Thank you. Okay, first up is resident Larry B.
Larry B., you must give your name and address. And unmute. You're on mute. Larry, you're muted.
Okay.
Sorry.
I live at 2 Winding Ridge. My question is, how long? I assume the state did the inspection. How long is the inspection good for?
Our engineer is going to give a report at the end of the meeting.
Okay, so is it good for 10 years or is it good for 5 years or two years? I want to hear specifics as to that.
All right, our engineer will be speaking later. Thank you. Any other questions? We're going to have everybody answer them all together later. No. Okay.
Next up is Emily Schultz.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Mayor.
Address, sorry.
Sorry, yes, and my name is Emily Schultz. I live at 6 Fieldstone Court. I have 2 comments. I would like, I have 1 question and 1 comment. I want to remind the council that the issues with the bridge go back to before June 2016. This is not a new issue. While I appreciate the fact that this so-called schedule was put into place back on March 4th, the bridge issue has been around a very, very long time, and yet no progress really has been made other than Band-Aids. That's my comment. My question is, which I'd like addressed when you discuss the bridge, is I would like to know how not one council person or the mayor of this town had no idea that the bridge was not going to be replaced this year until after the decision was made. I thought that the council and the mayor, well, the council is the governing body here. So I find that I'm flabbergasted, quite honestly, and I wonder who is in control in this town. Where's your management? So I would like that addressed in the discussion, as well as how this could possibly have happened.
Thank you.
Next up is resident Judy Sullivan.
Hi, Judy. We don't see you.
I don't want to turn my camera on. Is that all right?
That's okay, but you have to give your address.
Of course I will. I live on Overlook Ridge, but I don't want to give the number if that's okay.
I think that's all right, right, Brian? Brian? She's a school board member. Is that acceptable?
That's good enough.
Okay.
Thank you. My comments here are personal. They don't reflect my position on the local Board of Education. So I was just trying to help and thinking, have you ever looked into suing the builder for this? Because I think I did a white paper a couple of years ago and I offered it to the borough to see if there was some way to actually sue them. They're still in business and they still operate in Connecticut. And then secondly, I haven't listened to all of the board meetings for the town since January, but wasn't there another engineer that we hired? And could they be of assistance? Maybe to just give the public some assurance about what's going wrong here in terms of communication and whatnot. Those were just two thoughts I had to try to help.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for your service on the school board.
You're welcome. Thank you for your.
Okay, again, raise your hand icon to provide public comment. Mayor John Comer.
Who is it?
John Comer.
Okay. John, you're muted and you have to give your address.
Yes, hi. My name is John Comer. I live at 4 Riverdale. And my question is, the $4 million budget number you were working off of, was that a budget number or an actual contract number?
I'm writing down everything everybody asked, and when the engineer speaks later, he will answer all these questions.
Okay, and because I'm just trying to understand, was that a budget number and now they feel the budget is a new number of $5+ million? That's my question. And I'm sure you'll speak to Boswell about that in the end.
Yes, John Yakimic is on Zoom. He is our borough engineer from Boswell.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you.
Next up is Heidi Katz.
Heidi, you're on mute.
Hi, I'm Heidi Katz. I'm at 13 Water's Edge. I was at the last meeting that happened pre-COVID that we discussed the bridge situation, and I echo Emily Schultz's sentiment. It's very confusing to me, and I mean no disrespect by this at all. And I appreciate the work that the board and the mayor do. I know it can be a thankless job at times. But that being said, who's in charge here? I don't really think that the residents of the community should have to be fighting for an issue that is a safety issue, that is a lawsuit waiting to happen, whether it's to the town and the community. And in addition, I feel that if a road needed to be repaved or a light needed to be put up or any such type of situation, it falls on the shoulders ultimately of the mayor, who then will dictate to whoever it is on her staff to get something taken care of. I brought this same point up at the meeting a year ago. I really don't understand why this is such a difficult situation. You are the mayor. You have people who work for you. You came to the last meeting at the board at the Ramapo River Reserve Community House, and you said, I don't have this paper, I don't have that paper. And again, you know, it just seems as though this is being put off and put off. I was at the school meeting when we held it at the school, the same thing about the bridge. It's just, this is 2021. What is wrong with this picture? So I know I'm not asking any specific question here. I'm making a statement to echo what Emily said, but this is just, in my mind, mismanagement and poor oversight of what is going on in our town. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi.
Okay, last call for public comment. Mayor Stephen Martino.
Hi, Mayor Steve Martino, 8 Woods End. A couple of questions and a comment. The Glen Gray Bridge was replaced a few years back. I don't know what the cost of that was, but that happened relatively quickly, and I don't understand why it's taking so long for our bridge to be replaced. It's the same style and type of bridge going over the same waterway, number one. Number two, if we're going to be forced to use Glen Gray Road, 2 vehicles have difficulty passing there, especially when there's fishermen. Has anybody brought up the idea of widening that road so that two vehicles can pass by safely? And I just to reiterate the sentiments of everybody else, this has been going on since 2016. I'm an original owner from 1998, and I don't understand why the engineering on this bridge is so difficult, and how the cost of this bridge can go so out of hand. Thank you.
Next up is resident Richard M.
Yes, this is Richard Michaud at 15 Riverdale. My video doesn't seem to be working, so I'll just stay on audio if you can hear me.
As long as we can hear you.
Okay. So essentially, I have two questions. One is, there was an engineering study, from what I understand, that found the bridge to have major issues, which led to the, Band-Aids applied to it to get it back to working order. But has anybody done a study and compared that with the state's report and shared that report with the state to have them go back and double check it? Just because, there's been a lot of accidents in the country with bridges. So I think we need due diligence there. The second question is, and I know, we've retained, our engineering firm for the town, but has anybody put out competitive bids to other engineering firms just to make sure that we get, proper pricing, proper due diligence around that aspect of it? I know that the current engineering firm, Boswell, was involved in the original part of the design for that bridge and part of the design for the association. Could we look at other opinions and just get some other feedback there?
Thank you.
Mayor, next up is Alice Comer.
Alice Comer, 4 Riverdale in Oakland. We often take walks under the bridge, through the woods there, and it's very noticeable that there has been so much rust. And I was just curious, has there been regular maintenance on the bridge? We're fairly new members in the neighborhood, so that's my question. Has there been regular maintenance to that bridge over the years?
Thank you. As I said before, the engineer will be answering all these questions afterwards.
Okay, Mayor, I see no one further.
All right, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just if nothing else, the state came in, said the bridge is satisfactory. So as far as the safety issue right now, when it wasn't satisfactory, the state came in immediately. I got on the phone. I was with Trenton. They came up here and they took care of whatever issues were needed at the time as a temporary fix. You're right, it's a Band-Aid. It was a temporary fix. But they assured us that the bridge is satisfactory. It is safe. For how long, I don't know. The engineer will answer. And this is an issue, a major issue. And with that, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about during the meeting. Minutes from the March 24th, 2021 meeting. There a motion?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Any comments? If not, roll call.
Councilman Bialy,
Yes.
Councilman Kumala,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski,
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Abstain.
There are minutes from the executive session of March 24th, 2021. If there are going to be any comments, it must be made during the executive meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
Just want to make one comment. In the minutes, it has Bobby Knapp as being present.
Oh,
Uh,
Lisa,
it was just probably an old template.
Okay.
thank you for pointing
Yes,
that out.
I didn't get a chance to say hello to him.
And it's throughout the minutes. And roll call also.
I'll change it.
It just goes to show we miss Bobby Knapp very much. Roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Yes.
Councilman Kamala. Did he answer?
No.
Eric?
He's
You're on mute.
Just got kicked out. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We're voting on the
call.
minutes, the executive March 24th minutes.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Abstain.
There are minutes from the executive session of April 14th. Again, if there's going to be any discussion, it has to be done during executive. And once again, I see Bobby Knapp is not going away. He's listed as present. So we'll cross off Bobby Knapp and roll. Any comments? If not, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Yes.
Councilman Kamala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
We have a proclamation. It's for Arbor Day. I would have had Councilman Ben F. read it since he's shade tree. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion and our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, whereas trees are renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas the trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business areas, and beautify our community, whereas trees wherever they are planted are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Linda H. Schwager, Mayor of the Borough of Oakland, do hereby proclaim April 30th as Arbor Day. In our community of Oakland, I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. And the next item is Green Team. This is a mayor's appointment. Thank you. Nicole Natoli is volunteering to be on the Green Team. Councilman Kamala is the liaison. I'm sure he'll be in touch with you. Thank you, Nicole, for volunteering. There is a request. The Oakland Arts and Amble would like to put a banner up on May 15th to May 31st in Bush Plaza, advertising the art show being held at the library at this time in June. The sign would be a 4 feet by 8 feet and say Oakland Arts Amble, Oakland Public Library, and Veterans Field, June 11th to June 13th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if anybody's interested, you can visit their website, www.oaklandartsamble.com. Is there a motion for this banner?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Yes.
Councilman Kamala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
There is another request. This is from Oakland Pride, would like to request the 8 feet by 4 feet Oakland Celebrates Pride banner to be placed in Bush Plaza from June 1st to June 30th. and this is from Allison Gleason. Is there a motion about the banner?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Bialy,
Yes.
Councilman Kamala,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski,
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
There is some raffle licenses. The first one is from the Oakland Lodge, the Oakland Elks Lodge 2167, license RL1401, and it is to be on June 12th, 2021. 50% of the cash proceeds to support Elks charities. Is there a motion to approve the raffle?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next one, Oakland Education Foundation, license RL1402. This to take place at 5 Hilltop Lane in Oakland. On its raffles on June 5th, June 12th, June 19th, June 25th, June 30th, all at 10 a.m. $1,850 in cash prizes, $975 miscellaneous merchandise. Proceeds go to the Oakland Education Foundation for educational purposes set forth by the OEF and the Oakland Board of Education. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item. This was by a resident. His name is Nick DeRota, and he's asking for noise permit variance from May 29th to May 30th, 2021. And it's, he wrote the note to Mr. Kunz that we feel that it would be a disservice to our county and to my family to not honor the military service that men like my father, deceased career prisoners of war veteran Gene DeRota, gave to our country while serving in the United States Army in a celebrity fashion on Memorial Day weekend by playing live music. It would be hard to bear not honoring these memories with our military family and friends, including patriots, veterans, and retired Navy chiefs that will be attending the event, especially after everyone has endured the hardship of COVID-19 pandemic. And when my father died on October 11th, 2020, none of his children could be at his side at the Montrose VA Medical Center. The hardship is that it will be difficult to endure the grief, suffering, and misery for myself and our military community not to honor these memories by playing live music and celebrating the good memories of the lives of the military men who served our country on memorial. As the pandemic winds down, we need times like this to enjoy our lives. Thank you for your consideration. And the message is to obtain a permit to have live music and residential real property, May 29th, May 30th, and May 31st, 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. The music would be created by operating and playing mechanical musical instruments, loudspeakers, public address system in excess of the maximum permissible sound levels as listed in the Borough Code 3-3.5. So, and then the street would be 57 Walnut Street. Any comments from anybody?
Mayor, there's one correction on that. It's only for one event, one day. The other one's a rain date. It's not 2 days.
It says on May 29th, 30th, 31st.
Right.
Yeah, Mayor, Mr. DeRota clarified in an email subsequent to the packet going out that he was actually looking to hold it one day on the 30th with a rain date of the 31st. And the total performance time, including setup, would be 4 hours.
Okay, thank you. So any other comments on this? Any discussion on this?
I mean, that's a lot different from what I thought, because I thought it was music for 3 days.
That's what I thought, right?
And I was going to say, I mean, I'm a veteran, and I appreciate the recognition that this gentleman would like to have towards veterans. I was going to suggest only 1 day, and I guess there's
He
been
heard you, Pat.
there's been an amendment, and and he would like to do it for one day. I agree. I think it would be a nice tribute. Just make sure we notify the police department ahead of time and let them know.
So
That's
still from 3 to 7?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm also in
Yeah.
support of it.
I'm in support.
Okay, so is there a motion?
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
Well, there's a dual motion. Everybody motion, everybody seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So, Mr. DeRota, it'll be enjoyable to hear it. Thank you. All right, we have to have a public hearing on the budget as introduced. And then we do the resolution. So I need a motion to open to the public to be heard on the budget.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Michael?
Okay, if you're a member of the public and you wish to provide public comment on Resolution 21-174, adoption of the municipal budget only, please click the raise your hand icon. Mayor, I see no one further.
Motion to close?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, Councilman Talamini, I'm told you're going to read the amendment.
Yes, I have to find it. Hold on. Oh, my goodness. This is, I can't find it. It's a proclamation. There's a proclamation.
It was sent to you separately, Russ.
Was it? Let me look at that then.
It's in a separate email, Russ.
Yeah, it was separately,
Yeah,
uploaded
yeah.
separately.
Hold on, I'll find it then.
Mayor, maybe while Russell is finding that, David can just give a quick 2-sentence synopsis of what the amendment is.
Yeah, so we got the opportunity to have a Clean Communities mini grant for $300. So that $300 was added both to the revenue and the appropriation side of the budget. It's an offsetting appropriation, but we needed to include it in the budget so it could be spent. I think it
And
already
what
has
is the grant called?
It's a Clean Communities mini grant.
All right, so I have the resolution for the budget. There's another one you're saying?
If you have the one that says 21-174, that is the budget as amended, I believe.
Right, so he doesn't have to read the motion, he could just read the resolution or the amendment.
I believe
Resolution 21-174 is the actual resolution, but we have to add the amendment first, correct?
yes, I believe so. And then you would vote on the resolution on the budget as amended, which are the figures in the resolution itself.
Right, did you find the motion? Does anybody have the motion?
I don't have it.
You can just make the motion to amend. To
Okay.
That's good.
I'll make a motion to amend the budget to
incorporate the items just explained.
Yes, to incorporate the items just explained by the CFO.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Yes.
Councilman Kamala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Slosinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
And now you do the resolution 21-174, adoption of the budget.
Correct. Okay. All right. Hold on. I was just there. Fine. There it is. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, be it resolved by the mayor and council of the Borough of Oakland County of Bergen that the budget hereforth set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute the appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorizations of the amount of $15,033,284.45 cents for municipal purposes and $217,354.16 open space recreation farmland and historic preservation trust levy for $873,712 minimum library tax. Is that good enough?
And the total revenues.
Total revenues, $21,329,865.59. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Yes.
Councilman Kamala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
I just want to say thank you again to the Finance Committee, Rich and Dave, and all the department heads for all the hard work they put in for this budget. I mean, getting grants and you know, up to last minute, we're making changes, trying to do what we can for the town. And it's a lot of work goes into the budget. And just once again, thank you to everyone that had something to do with this. And I vote yes.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing this. Resolution, all right, we could do this, three of them. Resolution 21-175, authorized refund of taxes due to overpayment for Eric and Jennifer Rosenblatt, block 4503, lot 14, known as 37 Nokomis Avenue, in the amount of $3,383.63 due to an overpayment. Resolution 21-176, authorized grant application to T-Mobile. Oakland wishes to make an application for the T-Mobile Hometown Tech Over contest as suggested by Councilman Ben Eck. That is Resolution 21-176. And 21-177 is to hire seasonal laborer for the Department of Public Works. Peter Arvanitis, effective date June 28th, 2021, $13 an hour. Nicholas Brzezkowski, effective date June 28th, 2021, at $13 an hour. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Yes.
Councilman Kamala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
Now, there are a couple of items that were really Grant Ben Eck has been working on: the bylaws, the breweries, and marijuana. And this is all under work session. And so, is there anybody who wants to make any comment about the bylaws, or do you want to hold off another meeting until Councilman Ben Eck could be here?
Mayor, actually, not to take anything away from Councilman Van Eck, but most of this was done with the prior committee on bylaws. You know, we worked on it for several months, and then
years, Pat.
and then COVID happened, and we had a couple of more revisions, late minute revisions to the bylaws. I don't think Councilman Van Eck would object to us moving forward on this. You know, we've seen this. He's seen the revisions. We've spoke about the revisions. We had it on the agenda a couple of times, and we postponed it because we had so many items on the agenda. I don't think he would mind, but that's only my opinion. I would like to move forward with them so that we could get these done finally.
Now, can we vote on this tonight? It's on work session, Brian.
You can vote on it this evening if you would like. What I would do is I would wait to new business and make a motion to approve the bylaws.
Okay. I can't believe it. How many years, Pat?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The breweries, though, the breweries is really Councilman Ben Eck's project. So I'm suggesting that this be tabled until the next meeting. Does anybody object?
No, I think we can carry it.
Thank
No
you.
objection.
5G ordinance. Who brought this on?
That's Brian and I. So maybe I can just start it and then turn it over to Brian, because I know he's been working on this in other towns. This is an emerging issue. I'm sure you've all seen this with various cell phone providers touting their 5G service, and you've probably heard the term. They're small cell sites, to really try and boil it down, there was a rather extensive presentation packet included with the agenda materials for you to review. But essentially, 5G is the ability to transmit a lot more data than 4G and meet the ever-increasing data needs of the cell phone networks, wireless networks. But that data capacity comes at the expense of a much shorter signal range than traditional cell towers have, which results or will result with the rollout of 5G of a lot more of these antenna sites, the bulk of which are anticipated to be mounted on existing utility poles or on new utility poles in the borough right-of-way. And with that being in the borough right-of-way, the borough has a responsibility to manage that and a right to manage that to make sure that it doesn't have negative impacts on the public. Although in this area, in particular, there's a lot of FCC rules that come into play with it as well, in terms of review times and fees that can be charged, and what can we review and what can't we regulate. So we've crafted an ordinance for your consideration that is born out of work Brian has done with a consultant in other towns that I think has had input from carriers in other towns. That we know conforms with the latest FCC rules, and the ordinance for each carrier that comes in and wants to put a pole up or put an antenna on an existing pole. It requires a right-of-way use agreement, it requires evidence of insurance, it requires the carrier to obtain a permit. It establishes standards for the location and siting of the facility, such as the maximum pole height that's permitted, distance from the curb line, addressing issues like site obstructions and aesthetics. It establishes standards for site restoration, removal, relocation, and abandonment of the facilities. It establishes permit and annual recurring use fees, which are regulated by the FCC under something called the safe harbor provision. And it establishes a permit application requirements and standards for the application review itself. So it's rather comprehensive. It's meant to address everything. So when we have multiple carriers coming in here looking to roll out their 5G infrastructure, we're ready for that. And we'll have a system in place and an ordinance in place that can address it and protect the public. I want to point out that this is, we've talked a lot about whether it's grants or other ideas, zoning changes, ways to try and bring additional non-tax revenue into the community. This is a way of doing that, because there will be annual recurring fees that come with it, much in the same way that you have, that you earn revenue off of the lease of the cell tower site too. Related to that, what we're proposing is to retain a consultant to assist with the review of these applications. They get very technical and very specialized. We've been talking with a firm called Hoplite Communications that kind of provide a turnkey solution to this. And their revenue comes from escrow fees, from application fees. There's nothing that we pay them directly. Ultimately, it's the carrier paying that in accordance with the fee schedule. So with all of that, let me turn it over to Brian in case he has anything he'd like to add.
So
I have a question. Are there going to be more polls?
yes. What has happened is the FCC has adopted regulations to provide for a much more rapid rollout of 5G communications. 5G communications are very different from what we understand the typical cell communications to be, as explained by Rich before. There is no co-location with 5G. So each carrier will have its own pole. There are certain requirements that could be imposed by a municipality, by the FCC, and we've developed through research and with the work of the consultant, ordinances that we have crafted that address locations, aesthetics, etc., and also a fee structure. So in your packet is an analysis and a presentation that was prepared by Hoplite Communications, that is Peter Lupo. I met Mr. Lupo through Fort Lee. He was retained a year ago in Fort Lee. I worked with Mr. Lupo to craft an ordinance that would pass FCC muster. That ordinance was recently adopted by Fort Lee. We utilized a very similar ordinance in Leonia. This way, you can regulate what is happening consistent with FCC requirements and utilize a consultant who understands the process and what's necessary to protect your residents. The unfortunate aspect is if you do nothing, the right-of-way could be utilized and we could have poles all over the place. This is the way to regulate it. I believe, John, we had a few that were put in on Ramapo Valley Road since those were county installations.
Yes.
Those were reviewed by John's office, but we cannot ban them. We can't restrict them, but we can manage them.
Why can't we restrict them?
You restrict them in terms of locations and distance between the various poles. You restrict them with respect to site distance, and it's more management than an outright ban.
That's all. That's the only rights we have.
That is it. Yeah, I don't think we've been hit with it in Oakland, but in the eastern part of the county, they're coming in droves.
So that begs an interesting question. So if they're going to be adding additional poles, how does it affect the residents up in the reserve where there are no poles? All the utilities are underground. How do you deal with putting a 5G site up there that's not going to be unsightly?
They will put in a pole.
And does the town have any say as far as the aesthetics of this?
No. The aesthetics will be is that they will use, in accordance with the form ordinance, we have some form of camouflage technology.
Okay.
But the 5G technology is on a pole. Sometimes it's on a building, but most of the time it is an independent pole.
Thank you.
We don't have the right to stop them.
Correct.
I wasn't saying that. My question was, can it be aesthetically pleasing?
Well, that's going to be in the eyes of the beholder, but it's still a pole.
Isn't there a phrase like that? It's still whatever but it's still something.
It's a duck.
That's it.
I've had a couple of people ask about health issues. Has there been any concerns about more radiation and stuff like that? Do we know anything about that? I mean,
the FCC regulations indicate that they have gone through the various health issues and that the municipality can't regulate the health issues. However, what is done by Mr. Lupo with the Hoplite report, he will have radio frequency reports which will indicate the level of any transmission from any particular pole, that there will be records maintained for any individuals or so that you can respond to any individual's request.
Okay. So now we're just looking for approval from us about this.
Well, I think the recommendation would be is to retain Mr. Lupo. Mr. Lupo is paid from fees from the carriers, so there is no out-of-pocket cost for the borough. He assists the municipal engineer because he has the more specialized expertise regarding the technology. And then he will make recommendations to the governing body. So what you will get from my office is a ordinance or an ordinance, an application form that will be utilized, and the governing body will review each one of those and grant a right-of-way permit for any installations that have come up. We have not seen any installations within the municipal right-of-way, but as I said, there were some installation on Ramapo Valley Road.
Okay.
So we need to be at the next council meeting.
We would.
Go ahead, Rich.
Sorry, we would have the ordinance ready for introduction at the next meeting. Right.
Okay. The next item is discussion prohibiting marijuana. I asked that be tabled to the next meeting, courtesy of Councilman Benek.
No, Mayor, I've talked to Councilman Benek already. I would like to move forward with this. Obviously, you guys have attended many seminars on this. As Mr. Bialy said, you've attended this as well. I attended the Franklin Lakes council meeting to see what Franklin Lakes was doing. They also outright banned it to protect their rights. And just so the public understands, if we do ban this, it protects the rights of Oakland, so we can always reverse this at any time going forward. So once the commission has put together the rules of engagement, if the borough wishes to get into the cannabis business or allow that type of business, we can revisit it. With that being said, I did ask the borough attorney to create a sample resolution or a resolution that addresses the 6 points to ban it at this time, so we can kind of pump the brakes and then preserve the rights of Oakland. And with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to introduce.
You can't do it tonight during work session. Is that correct?
You could do it in new business.
I'll do it under new business. Very good. Thank you.
All right. I just have this fear that once you ban it, you're going to lose out on all the financial benefits of the cultivating and manufacturing. They're going to go to other towns. And I just thought a courtesy, we set up this committee to give us at least another council meeting to talk about this before you outright ban all classes. Because I don't think the public understands. There are 6 different classes of banning.
Are we having a debate right now, Mayor, or we got to wait till under new business?
Okay. Okay. New business. I have something to say. This morning, it was actually this afternoon, I had a virtual meeting with Councilman Talamini was on the virtual meeting with myself, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Kafari, Annette, and a school board member. And I asked for this meeting because after seeing what happened with this election, the school board election, only 4% of the residents came out to vote, 4%. And I wanted to know the cost of having this election in April when most other towns, I think, were down to, she gave me the number, 3 towns remain in April. 2 had a special election for a special question. I wanted to get the cost. They did not have the cost ready for me today, but the regional school board votes in November. The Franklin Lakes votes in November. Wyckoff votes in November. We vote in April, 4% of the population. And people don't vote. They just don't vote because they forget to vote. And since I can remember, there hasn't been any competition for school board members. The budget always passes. So what is the point of keeping it in April and spending all this extra money? So what I asked for, and Councilman Talamini said that we pretty much, the council stays out of school board business, which is correct. We don't have the right to dictate what the school board does. But if we wanted to, and if this council so desired, they would have the right to vote to change the election to November. However, I thought that was not respectful of the school board members. So therefore, I asked them, I would like to have a Zoom meeting, a virtual meeting of the council and the school board members. Once Annette gives us all the numbers of what it cost for the past 5 years to run the school board election in April. In last year, it's not an accurate number because there were no voting machines, no polling places. It was all by mail. So I asked for financials for the past 5 years. I asked for then, once they get the financials gathered, that we have an open virtual meeting between the council, the school board, and invite the public to speak. I'd like to hear them, not a survey. People don't answer surveys. People are very hesitant to put their name on a survey and give their opinion in writing. So I'm asking them, and I told Dr. Caparo that I was going to bring this up tonight, asking for a meeting of the school board, council, an open meeting, inviting the public, and that's what happened today. So we'll be waiting for Annette to gather up the financials of the last 5 years.
Mayor?
So now, other new business. Councilman Kamala.
Councilman Pignatelli had a question, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
It's okay.
I didn't see the mark around when you speak.
I know. Sometimes it goes and sometimes it doesn't. In reference to moving the school board election, if my memory serves me correct, the big difference is if we move it to November with the general election and the budget comes under 2%, then no one gets to vote for or against it. So I don't like that is taken away from the public. I'd rather see the public vote for it or against it, because if we move it to November and their budget's less than 2%, there's no vote by the residents.
I mean, more than 2%.
No, if it's 2% or less, they don't get to vote. People get to vote.
If it's 2% or less, that's good.
No, we're taking the right of people to vote away from them.
It's 4% of the population.
I know, I understand that, Mike. I understand it.
But we don't have the right. All right. So that's why I'm asking for an open meeting. So to hear from the public, you have an opinion. I have an opinion. There are 5 other opinions on this governing body. The school board has an opinion. Dr. Caparo has an opinion. I want to hear from the public. I don't want to see a written survey where people are afraid to write down what they want. So that's all I'm asking for is a meeting, virtual meeting of the school board, the council, open it to the public so we can hear the public. Someone gives the one side, keeping it, just as you said, Pat, keeping it to April, and then someone gives the reasons why it should be moved to November with all the other elections. That's all. I'm just asking for one virtual meeting. So we'll wait to hear back.
I'm not against it.
Oh, you're not against the meeting?
No, I'm not. No.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, I know you're open-minded.
I try to be.
All right, next. Councilman Kumalo.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. So I'd like to now introduce the ordinance to ban marijuana in Oakland as a way to protect the rights of Oakland, so that if and when we do jumping into the cannabis business, we'll be better prepared without making a knee-jerk reaction. So therefore, I make a motion to introduce the ordinance.
I second that motion, and then we'll have discussion.
Discussion.
Yes, if no one minds, I'd like to go. I'd like to give my opinion about that. By banning the marijuana here in Oakland now, we reserve our right in the future, once the rules and regulations are promulgated, to choose the best way for us to have it or not have it here in Oakland. It doesn't take away from us the ability to have one of the 6, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. I think the amount of time that it would take for us to pass this, we need to do it now, because once we do it, it has to go to the planning board. We have to wait for their comment, then it has to come back to the council, and we would be pretty close to June or July when we get this back. So I'm in favor of banning it, because it reserves our right in the future to adopt it or not adopt it once we see what the rules and regulations are. I don't like adopting something that I don't know what the regulations are going to be, because the regulatory commission could blend 2 or 3 of them together. Once we adopt, then we have no say at all about it. So by banning it, we reserve our right to accept or deny it, and which way we would do it. This is such a monumental step for us. I would encourage a cautious approach and ban it now. wait for the rules and regulations, and then revisit it and decide whether or not we want it or don't want it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I told you you're open-minded. Will you still be on the committee?
Yes, yeah.
Good, okay. Councilman Bialy.
Yes, I spent an hour on Tuesday listening to the webinar broadcast on the marijuana. It was moderated by the mayor of Clinton, who's the president of the League of Municipalities, and there were four other top people in the field. One lady who has been to every state where marijuana has been legal, and they all come up with the bottom line denominator, and that is, it's almost like the state is putting the cart before the horse, and that is, they're asking us to meet a deadline on making a decision, and then they're telling us they're going to come out with the rules and regulations in 6 months or more. So for us to go ahead and put together and spend time and put together our ordinance to deny or approve the different platforms that cannabis is available in, and then have it all fall apart when the rules and regs come out. So it just doesn't make any common sense to spin wheels without going anywhere. When the fact of the matter is, and I have to agree with Pat, we deny now, we ban now, and it opens the door for any time in the future, especially after the regs and rules come out.
Thank you. All right. There's a motion, a second. Roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Yes.
Councilman Kumala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yes.
Councilman Slasinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm still having this committee with Councilman Van Eck and Councilman Pignatelli. I'm still encouraging those residents who are in favor and those residents who are opposed to be on this committee. And so you're right. When the rules and regulations come in, we can make an educated decision and a very knowledgeable decision. So that's a good idea. In the meantime,
Lisa,
Councilman Pignatelli, don't forget to submit those names to me.
Yes.
Of the people that you think would be on the committee.
Yes, Brian.
The ordinance
Thank
was introduced. This is a zoning ordinance that should be referred to the planning board. We should establish a date for public hearing.
Okay, so the next planning board meeting is the 13th of May. So we could do it at May 26th.
I mean, that's fine with me if it's okay with the governing body.
That's acceptable for me.
It's okay.
Just as a reminder, Mayor, I know you probably have it written down to remind yourself, but we still need to go back to the governing bylaws.
I think she's frozen.
Yeah. Either that or she don't want to talk to me anymore.
Let's see her.
Did she just drop off?
Yep.
Yeah, I think she's gone.
Yeah.
Got to put a nickel in the machine.
It's a little more than a nickel, I think.
I'm going back to my automat days in New York City.
Somebody texting her?
Okay, how many here even know what an automat is?
I know what an automat is.
Is that a transmission?
How about horn and hard on?
So half of the people do know what it is and half of the people don't.
And they're starting to come back because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Whenever we went into the city, we had to stop at an automat, no matter what.
What do we want to? Is there stuff that we could do without the mayor?
Well, I mean, if the mayor's not on, council president could take over and, move forward with what we're doing here.
The mayor will be reconnecting momentarily.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
This is kind of standard. She got bumped off somehow.
I love Zoom.
I actually do like it.
I can't wait till we're at the council chambers having regular meetings, meeting people, doing things the way we should be doing.
I vote no. I vote no. We should stay just like where we are.
This is just so unproductive.
Mr. Coons, you and I should probably have a sit down next week and really start moving toward sometime in June, really figuring this out.
Yeah, you know, I was just speaking with Russell today about that, that, you know, I'm expecting, hoping, perhaps is probably the better word, but, you know, I should be able to expect by now that with Governor Murphy's recent announcement to open things up more, kind of ahead of the schedule that he'd set out at the beginning of the month, that may portend good things for us by later in May.
Okay. Do we want to just move on to committee, skip the business here and move on to committee liaison reports so we can come back to new business and old business?
For the governing body bylaws.
Yeah, we just need the mayor to come back on it, come back to that exactly, but at least we can move forward with committee reports. Mr. Pignatelli, you want to go?
Yes, thank you. I have a message from our Chief of Police, Chief Sanzeri. For the month of March, officers conducted 546 motor vehicle stops and issued 554 summonses. They also made 1 arrest for possession of a controlled dangerous substance and 3 arrests for driving while intoxicated. In the first week of April, officers participated in the You Drive, You Text, You Pay enforcement campaign. This program focused on drivers who used their cell phone while operating the vehicle. Throughout the week, 14 enforcement details were conducted where 40 summonses were issued for either using a cell phone while driving or another motor vehicle violation. The Oakland Police Department participated in this program with the hope of educating drivers and to increase the level of safety for both drivers and pedestrians alike. Thank you and be safe, Chief Keith Sanzeri. From the senior citizens, our Tuesday Fit for Life at 1 p.m. and our Thursday Chair Zumba at 10 a.m. classes will resume in-person outdoor programming in May on the Senior Center patio. We will be holding a bingo day on Thursday, May 20th at 1 p.m. Those interested in attending will need to register in advance with the office by calling 201-405-7731 or in person. Save the date for our first ever outdoor social distance barbecue on Tuesday, June 22nd. Food and line entertainment will be provided. More information is available at the Senior Citizen newsletter with the flyer available soon. Cost is $12 per person. Registration will open June 1st. May's book club is scheduled Thursday, May 27th. We will be reading Rise and Shine by Benedict Stone. No, I'm sorry, Rise and Shine, Benedict Stone by Phaedra Patrick. If anyone is interested in participating, we still have a few books left to borrow. This program is offered as a hybrid, both in person and Zoom. The author's name, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. I'm a lot easier with Italian names, but I think I pronounced it correctly, but I'm not 100% sure. The Environmental Commission met on April the 6th. Courses for members available through ANJEC. A grant has been submitted for a GIS map to map trails in the Great Oak Park for $1,500. Also, the county will be moving forward to clean up Lake Camp Tamarack, which has been an eyesore for many, many, many years. I'm very happy that they'll be doing that. For the Board of Health, all schools reached 100% for the immunizations. Notices have also been sent to residents who have not renewed their maintenance agreement for their septic system. I believe it's a 1 or 2 year agreement. I also gave an update on the marijuana legalization and asked members to forward their opinion to Michaud Corelli. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Coons, any luck with the mayor?
She's trying to reconnect from her phone. That's still in status. And Lisa will be leaving us. Lisa had her second COVID shot and this afternoon is starting to not feel well. So Michael's going to take over clerk duties for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye.
I'm going to send Ms. Councilman Bialy. Could you give us your committee report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Water and sewer, the Water Accountability Act, as required by the NJDEP, Water Department employees have begun a large variety of water distribution system operation and maintenance tasks. Residents may notice our water system operators exercising mainline valves along with flushing, pressure testing, and inspecting fire hydrants. During this period, our employees will also inspect all water storage tanks, pump stations, and the entire water system will be inspected for subsurface leaks. Water service will not be disrupted during this process, and residents can direct any questions to the Oakland Water Department at 201-337-8104. On our projects on water and sewer, Skyview Hillbrook update, the bid is on the street and it's concurrently being fed to the street and to possible contractors while we continue the process of trying to get our easements onto properties where, as I explained last time, the sewer lines actually go through the backyards of people who have neighbors on the other side, and their sewer lines run to their backyard property line. So some of the people have built sheds or other objects over the manholes, and we need to come to an agreement with those 5 or 6 residents to have access to those. So Brian is working up the right of entry, and the bid opening for the project will be on May 18th. And the bid project will include 4,080 feet of linear foot sewer liner in place, 1,215 linear foot of sewer line chemical root treatment, which is a foam I found out today that goes into the actual pipes that are there now to decrease the chance of roots growing back into the system after we put the liner in. 64 units reestablishing existing sewer laterals, 2 units of reconnection of existing sewer laterals, and the work is complete, should be completed under the contract within 90 days. The decommissioning project. Regarding the SDP decommissioning project, the I-Bank completed their review and requires some additional language and forms to be added to the bid specs. In addition, they are requiring that we award a contract for construction administration and inspection services in order to issue their authorization to bid. We will have a contract resolution for the administration and inspection on May 12th meeting agenda. Bulletin board. Johnny Kimmick has received the shop drawings from Allied Sign, which now include the footings to support the entire sign structure. After minor tweaks, we'll be ready to proceed with the sign being put into production. Sidewalks on Rampo Valley Road. John has sent letters to a few of the residents where additional work has to be done. And so they're working out the arrangements of having access to the property to make the sidewalk project move forward. In light of Mr. Van Eck being out, I'll take his DPW report. Potholes, we would like to remind residents that road department employees will be out on a weekly basis identifying and repairing potholes on all borough-owned streets. If residents have identified specific locations that may need attention, They are asked to fill out a service request on the borough's website or by calling the service building directly at 201-337-8104. More than 550 potholes have been repaired during March and April alone. The electronic digital sign, which I just spoke about, Public Works has already trenched and installed the electrical conduit that'll be necessary to power up the sign, and is actually looking forward to helping with the entire project as it develops. The bridge project, obviously, the mayor and I are both on the same page with the fact that up until the beginning of March, everything was on course. And then an email stating that the bridge estimate has gone up 1.3 million, and a discussion was to be had to proceed when and how to proceed with the project, which never happened. So we were in the blind as much as the residents were. So I just want to put that out there and let everyone know that obviously there were some concerns about the number that was first placed on the bridge, and then to come up more than $1 million short is, I wait to hear from our borough engineer. Anyway, I just want to make one, I don't know if anyone saw this in the paper, but a former councilman passed away. His name was Francis Philip Tangle, and he moved here in 1967, and Frank and his wife Gladys moved to Oakland, and he was the manager of the Butoni pasta factory and director of operations. And he served on the Oakland City Council, was active in Rotary, and also was a very active member in the Republican Party. He was 93 years old, and services will be held on May 14th between 4 and 7 p.m. at the Oakland Memorial Home. I have the paper. I'll scan it and send it to the rest of the council people. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bialy.
I'm back.
Hang on, Mayor. Hang on. Thank you, Mr. Bialy. She had to leave. She said, I'm feeling for COVID shot.
So for the minutes, Michael, you taking the minutes? So
Yes.
make sure it shows that I had to leave, but it was my husband who got me back on. So I give him credit.
So Mayor, what we did was we just moved to the council liaison reports.
Thank you.
Mr. Pignatelli did his, Mr. Bialy did his. There, I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you. So everybody did the council
No,
report?
just the two. Only Council
That was it?
Pignatelli,
Well, that's fine.
Councilman Bialy.
So who's left?
I am. Let's go back into the regular agenda, Mayor.
All right, who has, well, let's finish the committee reports. Who still has to give a committee report?
I do.
Go ahead.
Kevin, to me also.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't get back on.
So news from the library, a grant request was submitted but not awarded. They were only awarded 16 out of probably a few hundred submissions. But there's word, though, that the state might have another round, which we'll certainly reapply. It's a reminder, utilize the new ProCrest system that's on the library main page, which gives us access to digital newspapers. Also, the library is still working on summer reading programs for children and adults, pending status of the health crisis. And lastly, a tent is being erected outside of the library this Saturday so that we can have a safe outdoor meeting place in which to hold events this spring and summer.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and that's it for me.
When will the tent be put up?
This Saturday. Oh,
And
I'm
is it
not
gonna
sure
be in
about
the
the
back?
exact time.
Is that going to be in the back towards the Veterans Park?
I believe so, yes.
Very
so.
nice. So who's left? I'm so sorry about that.
Just
You know,
me.
it started pouring, so maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so finance. I just, again, I want to say thank you to the finance department and all the work that they did for the budget. Like I said we voted. Up to the last minute, we're making changes on the budget and just doing the best that we can to provide for the people of Oakland. Thank you again. Schools, the mayor mentioned that we met with the superintendent this morning and discussed the election. I don't really, in my opinion, it's the school's business whether they have the election in April or not, and that's that. But we'll discuss that more going forward. May 17th, K through 8 goes full time. If you still want to remain virtual, the child could still remain virtual, but they're trying to move forward and just get things back to normal as soon as they can. But like I said, you could still be virtual if you want to. And just the one school board member had asked me to mention that we've mentioned in the past that the school budget is a big portion of our budget. They just like to mention that there's 2 school budgets and only the K-8 you get to vote on. That's just for a point of order. And then I'd just like to say for the Flo Follies, congratulations to Flo Follies for all these years of service to both high schools, Indian Hills and Ramapo. And congratulations to the graduating class. And like I think Pat said, here's another 35 years. And maybe one day you'll get me out there on the stage. But
you'll like it. It's fun.
But don't hold your breath. And then just public events. We had spoken about the carnival. Rich, could you just give any kind of update? What what's going on with the carnival? What's where we are?
Sure. I've had some conversations with Chapo Russo. He had forwarded me the COVID-19 protocols for the ride vendor. So we have those. He also sent over the State Department of Health guidelines for running carnivals. And my conversation with him was, one, the Public Events Committee really needs to ascertain how many of the 501c3 nonprofits are willing to participate this year. And 2, to craft an actual operation plan in conformance with those guidelines so that we can take a look at that and make sure that the event is actually viable while doing all the things that the state requires you to do. There's any number of things that need to be taken into account, from hand sanitizer stations to how do you modify your temporary bathrooms, how do you manage the flow of people within the carnival area, et cetera, et cetera. How do you handle transportation with reduced capacity on the buses because of social distancing? So it's my understanding that they're going to go back and craft a plan together. In the meantime, I'm finishing my review of the proposed fireworks contract and proposal, and the ride vendor contract. I just want to make sure that the language in those agreements basically have an escape clause for COVID if we can't pull off the event. But, I relayed the fact that the governing body would like to be able to hold the event if it was feasible. I think the chopper was encouraged by that. And they're going to try to put together a plan that
I think started doing that in the past, right?
Yeah, we made that change in 2018, 2019 to give us another night.
Right.
So I think that's it for me. And then we just got to remember just points of business, the bylaws, and we have to get some kind of report from John Yakimic, right?
Did everybody else have a report?
I have.
Mayor, can I just take 1 minute? I figure this is the best time as all, as Russell just did. I want to send my congratulations to everyone that participated in Flo Follies, not only this year, but for every year in the past, and all the money they've raised. And a great congratulations to every graduating student of Ramapo High School and Indian Hills High School. I think they both have worked together well as far as the Flo Follies and the student body. And I congratulate them all. And it may have many more years of success with Flow Follies.
I
Thank
think
you.
Councilman Kamal, I think you finally get to speak now.
Thank you. All right, I'll move this as fast as I can here. I'm going to report on the dog park and Great Oak Park and the green team. It's been a busy couple of weeks down at Great Oak Park. The dog park opening is May 8th at 1 p.m. and if the rain date will be May 9th at 1 p.m. So it's either the 8th or the 9th, depending on the rain. If you're going to attend, you need to RSVP online at www.dogpark4oaklandnj.org. That's www.dogpark4oaklandnj.org. Just a quick poll here. How many people from the council will be attending? Mayor, anybody else? Russ?
I can't. It's my daughter's confirmation.
What's the date, Eric?
It's May 8th.
Thank you.
Oh, I can make it.
Okay. Mr. Selinsky, will you be attending?
I can't make it that day, sorry.
Okay, very good. And I'll check with Mr. Van Eck when I return. Okay. And Mr. Pignatelli, will you be attending?
That's the day before Mother's Day, and we may have to switch celebrating Sunday to Monday. If we do, then I won't be able to attend.
All right, very good.
It's a Monday?
Saturday.
Okay, only because Brian was asking for a head count so that you can plan accordingly. Okay, going back to the business at hand, register your dog to use the Oakland Dog Park by going to www.oaklanddogpark.org. That's www.oaklanddogpark.org. The fee is $10 per dog per year for Oakland residents and $20 per dog per year for non-residents. All fees collected go straight to the maintaining the dog park and providing for future improvements. If you want to register but aren't very tech savvy, you can also call the following number, area code 201-337-8111, extension 2068. That's 201-337-8111, extension 2068. Okay, going back to Great Oak Park. The green team has been extremely busy down at Great Oak Park. Last week, they had an invasive species removal on Truman Boulevard. And last weekend, they planted 300 trees and bushes, 14 different varieties of plants on Knuckles Path down at Great Oak Park. They had 50 volunteers over the 2 days doing this. I was down there with them helping out, and it was really nice to see a great turnout. And really, the green team is truly committed to really working through this Roots for Rivers project. Also, the Roots for Rivers, if you were still interested, there's going to be another Roots for Rivers cleanup or planting, which is going to be this Saturday and Sunday. Meet at 84 Roosevelt Boulevard, and it'll take place from 10 to 3 p.m. Once again, they're planting another 250 trees along the Roosevelt Boulevard area, which is that new park where we took down the houses. I'm also happy to report that the green team also had a very successful, it was, what do you call it, the plant swap. It was the fall plant swap. They had 8 volunteers working that, and 30 people came down to swap seeds and plants back and forth. It was also very encouraging. And, oh yeah, also a big thing. Myself, the mayor, Mr. Pignatelli, attended the community garden ribbon cutting 2 weeks ago. It was very well attended, and also the green team wants me to let everybody know that there is 1 plot still available.
Oh.
So if you're interested, it's $50. The green team plots, all the vegetables that get raised will be donated to the Ponds Church food bank. But there's 1 plot available for any resident that's interested. Just go to the Oakland website for more information. Mayor, that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. So everybody gave the reports?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. The Wi-Fi was working, the computer just went, and a downpour, so maybe something with the rain, I don't know. So I apologize to everybody. All right, so do you want to go back to the bylaws?
Yes.
Yeah, Councilman Van Eck was involved the last couple of months that we worked on it. So I don't think we should delay it any longer.
Okay.
I would like to move forward with it.
There's a second?
Second.
Did everybody read them?
Yes.
These are the updated bylaws. This is from 2006. That was the last time they were done. So can I do that now under new business, Brian?
Actually, I have a comment, Mayor.
No.
I just want to make sure that the bylaws are included in every reorganization meeting, so that they're just, so it's a living document, so that every organization.
Well, it says I think it says we have to do that, and we should.
Correct. And we haven't been doing that in the
them.
past. Yeah.
But the most important changes, so that the public knows, has to do with we have to end our meetings. What paragraph was that? At 10:30, unless someone makes a motion to
10 p.m. I'm sorry.
10. What number is that?
6, I think. Article 6.
That was something, and Grant also brought up the open portion, that the first open portion has to be just about something on the agenda. So if you go, right, and where is that?
I closed my notebook, or else I would look it up.
I know, I had it all out until I went crazy with the computer.
It's Article 3 regarding the meeting time and Article 4 order of business regarding the public comments.
Okay. 3. Okay, 3 and number 5, paragraph 5, end time of meetings. You're right, Pat. All meetings shall adjourn by 10 p.m. unless a majority of those council members present vote to continue the meeting for an additional amount of time. Because the discussion was that after 10 o'clock, everybody is so tired that you just vote or you just say things because you're so tired. And we thought that was something important to put in. And what was about the public portion?
It's under Article 4, Order of Business 1F. Where it says open to the public for public comment
Right.
on it.
You would think I'd know this since I'm the one who did all the typing. During the open to the public for public comment, anyone who wishes to address the governing body shall state his or her name and address for the record and allotted 3 minutes. However, the mayor may permit to speak additional time. But where does it say that the item placed? Where does it say that he wanted the first open portion only for items on the agenda?
Right. So 1F says open to the public for public comment on agenda items.
Okay.
That, yeah, the way we amended it, we just inserted that phrase on agenda items.
Right. And there was other thing, but everybody read this, correct?
Yep.
So we're going to bring this to all the meetings until we get used to it. There was something about under new business. Do you remember where we put that?
New business introduced at any meeting shall be referred to the appropriate committees unless on a motion.
Right, so it's a good thing you did all the motions today first, before we approved the bylaws. So, since we have the bylaws, there was a motion and a second, I guess roll call.
Councilman Bialy.
Finally, yes.
Councilman Kamala.
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli.
Yeah. Yes.
Councilman Sosinski.
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
And I want to thank all the members of that committee over the past many years. I know Russ spent a lot of time with this.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was very tedious, but we did it. And what we did was I went through all the bylaws that we could get from other surrounding towns, nearby towns, and we just put everything together. And I think it's a nice set of bylaws. So thank you. So where are we now? Are we up to our engineer?
I guess so.
Are we up to John Yakimic?
So are we in old business, Mayor, just for the record?
Yes.
Or unfinished business. Where are we?
I don't know.
All right, we're bringing the sewer.
John Yakimic, old business, Brian?
You've done your committee reports. I think we've gone through new business. I don't know if we talked about old business, but
Would that be old
under
business?
one of these, older new business, I think you should speak about, I guess, the bridge.
So, John, we're going to put you under old business since it's very old business.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I believe I captured all the questions by the council and the residents, but I asked for others to help me in case I missed
right.
one.
I wrote them down in case you missed any.
Let me address the most important one, and that is the question about a breakdown in management. If there was any breakdown in management, it was with us as the engineer. I totally misunderstood the communications from the borough administrator that a decision was made with regard to moving forward, giving the high price, the new cost estimate. So no decision has been made. And I apologize to everybody in the room. I apologize to the mayor and council by causing such angst, such anxiety, and to get everybody out on a Wednesday night when they could be doing something else. So I misunderstood the borough administrator. I had thought that a decision was made. This is still to be discussed by the council, and I look forward to that. I misspoke. I basically misspoke. With regard to the estimate, which I think is the other most important item here, when we prepared the original estimate, one of the questions was if that was budget or a contract number. That's a budget number. And when we prepare that estimate, we have really no design plans. We know we have to replace the superstructure with a concrete type of superstructure. We have some knowns, but we have many unknowns. And one of the residents brought up a good point about the Glen Gray Road Bridge. It was replaced in a few years back by the county. So the Patriots Way Bridge, to this resident's point, is a very similar bridge to the Glen Gray Road Bridge. So when we prepared our preliminary estimate, the best way to prepare a preliminary estimate is to take a very similar bridge close to your bridge and extrapolate it. You basically extrapolate it to current costs and you extrapolate it on its size. So in rough numbers, the Patriots Way Bridge is 3 times longer than the Glen Gray Road Bridge. And then we looked at other items that were different from the Glen Gray Road costs, and that were the critical utilities that are on the Patriots Way Bridge. And at that time, when we prepared the preliminary estimate, we, without going into the weeds of the design, we did not know how they would be supported, how they would be relocated. We only had ideas, and the numbers that we try to throw at that stage, we try to be very high. And admittedly, we weren't high enough. So we took empirical data, we took good data that we had, and we tried to extrapolate it. So getting into the details of the design during the final design, when we start devising schemes for relocating the utilities and putting in a temporary bridge to support them, and to do cost analysis on the most effective way to do that, we started to find out that our original estimate was not good. And then there was another component, and I don't want to dwell on this component because I don't want it to sound like an excuse, but because of COVID, steel prices have gone up considerably. That is not the major reason for the change in the price, but it is a contributing reason. Boswell right now is delving deep into the estimate. I was with Kevin on the phone this morning, Kevin Boswell, and our structural engineer, and we're looking at different ways on things we could do with the estimate. if there are needs in there or if there are wants in there. So we're working that as well. I hope I answered that question. Let me go to I think the easier questions that the residents have asked. The bridge report that we received is good for 2 years. Under state guidelines, that bridge is inspected every 2 years by the state of New Jersey. So that bridge is 2 years long. There were multiple requests for other engineers to partner. I wouldn't call it competing. I like to consider it partnering to take a look at this bridge. As a matter of fact, I spent half of my career as a structural engineer. Early in my career, I was part of the team that designed the substructure for this bridge. And that could certainly be one of the firms that that can come in and partner and take a look at this estimate. Another idea might be to have contractors that are friends of us to take a look at this estimate. It is not a cookie cutter bridge. It is a semi-complex bridge. It's a non-redundant structure, and the utilities make it complicated as well. I think there was another question about if we could question and conduct a study and question the report by the state. We could certainly do that. I think we're still in the comment period for that, before that report gets finalized. So we could certainly question the satisfactory rating and bring other things to the attention to the state. Lastly, I believe there was a resident who talked about rust and if there was regular maintenance done on the bridge. I do not know of any regular maintenance. We've been in this process of addressing the rust and the major issues on this bridge for several years now through various episodes of Band-Aids, if you will, and trying to get the superstructure replaced. If the council decides not to go forward, we could certainly look at some sort of maintenance to make sure. I think what I want to make sure is that anybody walking under the bridge is not going to get hurt or hit by a piece of steel or rust coming down. So I think that would be a major thing we should take a look at right now. I hope I answered all the questions. If I have
there's
not,
one question you left out.
go ahead, Mayor.
I thought that right in the beginning, we looked at going after the original people who constructed the bridge. I know that Ms. Sullivan asked about suing the builder. Did we try this in the beginning?
I was not there for that, and I yield to Brian.
Yeah, and again,
They said it was 10 years.
This goes back to the 80s. This was looked at when the borough had to accept the bridge, about whether they could seek relief from either the builder or the bridge manufacturer. Because I think the issue was the bridge manufacturer at the time, that this was supposed to be the appropriate bridge to utilize, but it turned out not to be. There is a statute of repose that actions must be brought within 10 years. That statute had passed. The county also looked at bringing an action against the bridge builder, I believe, with the Glen Gray Road Bridge. We also contacted the county when this came up. This is not the first time it has come up. This is probably the fourth or fifth time it has come up, and it's still the same answer, is that the time period to seek responsibility for either the builder or the manufacturer of the bridge has passed.
Well, and does anybody have any questions for our engineer?
Mayor, and John, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I was told that the rust that we are seeing is what the contractor, the builder of the bridge, that's the material they suggested back then, and that's no longer being used. I mean, I think it's they wanted it to rust because they said that makes the steel stronger, but I guess that's not correct.
Well, back when the bridge was designed back in the 90s, the term was weathering steel. And the concept at that time was that the steel would rust, and the rust would form a protective coating on the steel that you didn't have to paint it. So it was seen as a bit of a panacea that you didn't have to paint steel, and that this rust would serve as a protective coating. Unfortunately, for bridges over waterways, the damp conditions basically cause rusting of weathering steel to advance much quicker than a weathering steel bridge over, say, a railroad or another road. And then subsequently, the DOT in maybe the early aughts, I don't know exactly when, basically banned weathering steel bridges over waterways. So there's protective rust, and then there is rust that is basically eating away at the members. There's a difference.
Corrosive.
I'm sorry.
Is it corrosive?
Yes. Yes, there are members on the bridge that the rust has gone far enough and that has caused it to corrode. The Band-Aid that occurred by the state 2 years ago, when I was on the bridge talking to the commissioner and getting that there and together, that addressed the most critical members of the bridge. And I guess apparently the inspectors felt that it was enough to get it to the satisfactory condition.
Do we have any indication that 2 years from now, when they inspect the bridge, that we'll get a good report, or is that just too far out to?
Yeah, Russ, having inspected hundreds of bridges in the state when I was a bridge engineer, I would say it relies upon the individuals doing the inspection. And it's quite possible 2 years from now, it could come back with a poor rating rather than a satisfactory rating. They try to make it as objective as try to make it, excuse the pun, as structured as possible to take away any opinion. But I believe, people are human, and one set of eyes might see something differently than another set of eyes.
So we are at a crossroads of $1 million. Is that correct, John?
Right now, yes.
And if this council so desired, we could bond the additional $1 million.
That's the discretion of the mayor and council.
But the council has to meet and talk about this. That's the problem. This is something that you have to meet. Yes.
So Mayor, I can't begin to express how infuriated I am with what happened last week. Okay? There's several moving parts here. One, we have the governing body back in December bonded money for this, whether the information was correct or not.
Yes.
There's a bridge, there's an inspection. Hang on, hear me out.
We worked on the information we received at the time.
There was a bridge inspection that took place of last year when we got a report on February 22nd.
Yes.
Nobody on this council knew this information.
Correct.
Fast forward to last week. You took a meeting with the Ramapo River Reserve Board.
No, one person.
Whatever, okay? This meeting took place. And next thing you know, how come you as the mayor didn't have the courtesy to tell me, the council president, that this job is in the rears for over $1.3 million? We're the governing body here. When I find out through residents that there's a problem here and I have to face them and I have no answers, Mayor, a phone call, some courtesy, anything.
Councilman.
Wait, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Well, wait a minute. I go to this meeting waiting for the timeline of the structure, and I find out from our engineer, not from the DPW committee, not from the finance committee, not from our borough administrator. I go in there into that meeting blindsided to meet with the manager and the president of the board to go over to confirm the timeline. And that's when I sit there and I find out for the first time that, oh, we're not going to have the bridge done this year. So excuse me, talk about frustrating, talking about embarrassment, talking about being upset and angry and outrage. So don't talk to me about you hitting it with the residents. What do you think I'm getting? What do you think about the emails I've been blasted with? You don't know what I've gone through. So don't tell me about courtesy. The courtesy would have been if the governing body was told as a governing body, what is the situation with this bridge? And we were, none of us were told. And that is the bad part. And that really is very good point that we have to sit and have an executive meeting on personnel to talk about this. Very important. We're talking about a major structure in this town, and to go to a meeting and no one tells me, oh, don't go to the meeting. Wait a minute, we have a problem. No one says don't go to the meeting.
So, but that's fine, Mayor. It happened. But I mean, a courtesy phone call from somebody to notify this council. It's this council that approves the ordinances. It's this council that makes the decisions. Okay. Correct. And that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. Exactly.
And what I'm hearing here also is from the residents is they've lost trust in this governing body and the administration here. And this is not a good position to be in. With that being said, I want to set up a meeting as council president. I want Councilman Van Eck from DPW, and I want to sit down with the board up there so we can take a direction, figure out how we're going to go with this and gain.
We can't meet with them until we meet among ourselves and talk about money. And we need Councilman Talamini from finance. We need David.
We will have that meeting.
We need David, our CFO, at this meeting.
Agreed. Mayor, when all this.
And we've had finance meetings and none of this was brought up. None of it was brought up. So you're not going to go running up to the board.
Wait, Mayor.
We have to meet among ourselves first.
You keep interrupting me because we have to
be running out to do.
You hang on.
We should be meeting among ourselves in a meeting and decide what to do.
Okay. That being said, Mayor, we're in agreement. So I want an emergency meeting next week. And we start discussing this as a council and a governing body because this is unacceptable.
So
unacceptable.
We have to get everybody's date of when they're available next week.
Mr. Coons, would you be so kind as to get and pull a meeting together next week and start addressing this issue?
Even if we have to cancel something, Richard, I think this really should take precedent.
Sure.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
One other thing I'd like to ask the engineer, where do we stand with the DEP permits for this project?
We have not received them yet. We were on the phone with them this morning, trying to get them shaken loose. We believe we could get them within the next 2 to 6 weeks. We are pleading basically with them to get them within the next 2 weeks because of the gas main that needs to be relocated as quickly as possible during the summer months. And that's the reason we gave the DEP this morning, and we're hoping they honor that and that we can have this permit within 2 weeks.
And then the estimate that we're over $1 million, we're thinking, how firm is your estimate? Are you working on, have you sharpened your pencil, or is that as sharp as your pencil is going to get?
We're still sharpening our pencil, Russ.
Okay.
Have
Was
we
the
applied?
CFO made aware of this?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Was our CFO made aware of this?
Of what, Mayor?
Of this predicament of $1 million shortage?
Yeah, David and I talked about it.
Yeah.
Oh, the two of you talked about it. And if we went for bonding for the additional $1 million, we'd have to put up 50,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we don't have that in this year's budget, though. I mean,
What would happen? Would we be able to do an emergency?
When Rich and I discussed this, the intention was, as soon as we got through the budget phase right now, our next objective would be to sit down and do the capital plan, and we would have to figure out how to include that in the capital plan. We do have enough money in capital improvement fund balance within the capital fund to be able to do this, if that's the direction that the mayor and council want to take.
Now you hit it on the head. The council has to meet and discuss this.
Yes,
Exactly.
Well, that's what I've been saying, Mayor.
We all
And
said,
as soon as possible. If everybody's available, we could meet tomorrow night. Is everybody available tomorrow night?
We'd have to advertise now.
Yeah.
no, I'm not available tomorrow night.
We have to advertise for the executive. Brian?
Yes, you would need an advertisement for any meeting you conduct.
Even executive. All right. So then Kathy's going to have to send out a notice. Is everybody can only be available at night? Are there any mornings anybody's available? If we can't get nights together
So
for next week?
who can make it on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, 7 o'clock? Raise your hand.
PM?
PM.
Wednesday.
John?
Wednesday.
I could do Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday. Is everybody good Wednesday? Wednesday it is.
Russ, how about you, Russ?
Wednesday. Yeah, I'm celebrating Cinco de Mayo, but other than that, I'm good.
I have,
bring a bottle of
Hat you
tequila.
want. We'll let you wear your hat.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes.
John, this is for Mr. Yakemic. Hypothetically speaking, not saying we're going to do it, but hypothetically speaking, if within the next month we could come to some solution of the 1.3 million, would we be able to move forward this year with the bridge?
The critical component of that is the gas main. And I've been trying to think of solutions today we have to have that gas main back service by October when the heating season starts. We've obviously lost time. Kevin and I talked about that this morning. Perhaps the solution is to call our friends at PSE&G to see if they could help us out with that relocation.
I guess what I'm looking for, and I'm sorry to even use this term, drop dead date that we could.
Don't use that term.
All right, drop a live date.
Thank you.
Drop a
Thank
live
you.
date that we'd be able to move forward. What's the?
I'm not prepared to give that to you this evening. We will have that before the council's meeting next week.
So we have enough time to advertise for next Wednesday night, Brian?
Yes.
7 o'clock via Zoom. Oh, wait, I'm on mute. Oh.
$100.
All right, is it possible, Richard, to talk to prepare, just in case we decide to go the way of a bond ordinance, to have it prepared, a draft? So we know what to do and we know what it could mean?
David, we should be
So
able
it
to,
doesn't drag out and we don't lose time with the gas pipes?
Yes, I'll reach out to Steve Roga tomorrow and have him work on a bond ordinance.
Have it ready for the next meeting, next Wednesday.
Okay, you should be able to do it. It's a supplemental funding, so those are fairly easy to get put together.
I'm sorry, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. We have a $1.3 million deficit for which the project wasn't ready, it wasn't done correctly. And now we're going to go out and get a bond ordinance ready for another $1.3 million.
We're not getting a bond.
We don't even know what the cost is.
No, you're not listening. We're getting a draft of a bond ordinance because it takes a long time. So if we can put all the ducks in a row and we decide to go ahead with a bond ordinance, this will save us time because we'll have something to look at. If we don't have it prepared and then we first have to go get it prepared and start from scratch, that's going to delay. We're talking about a time factor, as Pat Pignatelli used his phrase. I won't use the same phrase, the end date. John Yakimic is going to figure out about getting us that DEP permit, which should have been here by now because it was supposed to have been here by April. And I don't know why you said you put it in timely and it was supposed to have been here by April. Well, Friday is the end of April. So if we could get the permit going, we could get somebody to speak to PSE&G and get that in line. By the time we meet and decide if we're going forward or not going forward, we have some steps in preparation so we don't waste more time. In the meantime, we're not doing anything except getting everything ready. We're getting educated so that we have something in front of us to figure out what we're going to do. So everybody has their positions of where they are and what they have to do for next Wednesday.
And I have a question for
David, will you set up a financial paper for us to figure this all out? So if we do go ahead with the bond ordinance, will you give us some information for on financial? John, we'll have information from John Yakimic on the time frame if we do go ahead, or we may just say, you know what, we can't do it. We can't do it. But that's why we're going to meet.
And I have a question for Rich. With the stimulation money coming out of the federal government, the $2 trillion or the $3 trillion, what if the possibility came about that we were eligible? Can we take money for this project after it has been put out to bid?
That's unknown at this point, John. As you know, we just filed for a transportation grant through Congressman Gottheimer's office for funding for this project, including the extra amount that we think that we would need. How that would work exactly if we were awarded that is unknown, but we felt it was an opportunity to try to pursue that funding, so you authorized it. We're working with Senator Shapizi's office to try and get some additional funding. We've reached out to the DOT to see what else may be available. And I know we talked about the possibility of going back to the county as well. In terms of the ARP money, they meaning the Department of the Treasury they're supposed to have until I think May 11th to promulgate rules and regulations on the use of that money. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have a better idea of that. But right now, there's been nothing coming out of Washington about that.
Mr. Cohen's question, real quick, follow up on Mr. Councilman Bialy. Did we, for the first round of the grants we got from the DOT, did we put in for a secondary TAP grant? I believe it's a TAP grant for the emergency appropriation for the bridge again. Have we applied for that this year?
It wasn't the TAP program. We have two LAIF grants. We have a municipal
LAIF grant. That's it. LAIF grant. I apologize. Yes.
The feedback that we received from the DOT was that was not very encouraging in terms of another LAIF application due to the competitive nature of that and the volume of requests that they get. Again, we specifically asked about the county bridge replacement fund, and their response was, "Well, you need to go talk to Bergen County to see if you can work out some sort of an agreement with them to utilize some of their allocation." So that's where that stands right now, Eric.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would be proper and right now to get a head start on making contact with somebody in the county to try to access a little bit of leverage with them to get this bridge paid for.
Why don't we invite one of the, they're not freeholders anymore, whatever they're calling.
Commissioners.
Why don't we get one of the commissioners? I'll reach out to one of the commissioners tomorrow. Perhaps I can get him to join our meeting on Wednesday and see if we can shake them loose a little bit. I'll make a couple phone calls. And John, could you do the same thing? Obviously, you're well connected in Trent.
I will call. I'll be with one on Saturday, and I'll talk to that person.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mayor, you're on mute.
Everybody has their assignments for next Wednesday. We should come prepared to the meet. It will be advertised. Please have Lisa advertised in the newspaper, so there's no problem with us meeting.
Is this an executive session or a public?
It will be executive session because personnel is involved. Anything further? Well, then if not, motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, first up is resident Emily Schultz.
Emily, you're on.
I'll go here.
You're not muted anymore.
Okay. I find this terribly incredulous. I got to be honest with you. As I stated before, this bridge situation has been kicking around for more than 6 years. We have met with grant writers who are no longer with us to do letter writing. We have answered questions. We have had questions asked and answered with respect to lawsuits against original contractors. We have spoken about, in the last 6 years, we have spoken about the Band-Aids that will be a 3 to 5 year fix. So I find it very incredulous that someone would even ask the question of how long the report would be good for, the state report would be good for. We have spoken about county commissioners. In fact, they attended meetings with respect to this bridge over the last 6 years. And I see, if memory serves me, most of the people on the council have been around during, on and off perhaps, but during that 6 year period, more than 6 year period, because I can tell you for sure that there was a meeting in June of 15 with respect to grants. I'm sorry, the grant meeting was June 17, and there was, in June 15 was one of the first meetings that we had with the council with respect to the bridge. So all these issues that were raised, while I appreciate that they are still issues, my point is they are still issues. I don't understand how something can be bonded for, how it could be budgeted for, and not even be on, at this point in time, be on the spectrum. You know, when I hear that it's only this morning that the DEP was contacted to push them in order to get permits that we were told back in March were on their way or generally expected at the end of April, why this morning when you knew that this, well, I don't know who knew what, to be honest with you, but certainly between March 22nd and April 16th, during that 3.5 week period, someone knew that there was going to be a problem here with respect to money. You know, you discussed the budget this evening. I got to ask a question, and I understand this is not a give and take, but where was the money? Where's the money that was budgeted for the bridge to be repaired during this fiscal year? Was it used for other sources? What about that December bond? I looked for the meeting minutes and I couldn't find them, but that may be on me. Was that a general obligation bond that the money could be used elsewhere? Is it going to be dedicated to the repair of the bridge until we get the extra $1 million? And since now we're talking about not this year's budget, we're talking about next year. You just passed a budget. Did you include the bridge in that budget? I just don't get it. It's like Groundhog Day for 6 years and more. It's like Groundhog Day. And while I appreciate that everybody is gung-ho about getting this done next week, and I appreciate that you can't do anything else but do that, I just don't understand how this has continued along the route that it has gone down. And all these questions have been questions on the table and addressed at the various meetings that we had, including the one in Valley Middle School. How many years ago was that now? So this fix that was supposed to be the Cadillac of fixes, that was only supposed to last 3 to 5 years, that has already occurred 3 years ago. So where are, or more perhaps, because not every date is in my head. So I'd really like to know, what are we relying on when we talk about reliance for 2 years on a state report that was really based on a state inspection a year ago? We're talking about the safety of 400 households. Do you know how many that translates into thousands of cars, vehicles, school buses, trucks, garbage sanitation trucks, fire engines, police cars? This is the main entrance to 400 units in this town, representing over 1,000 residents. I really, for the life of me, I don't understand how none of these issues seem to have been resolved. That's all I've got to say. And it's not for the lack of trying on the behalf of the residents. That much I can tell you. So when you talk about trust of the residents, you betcha there's a real issue of trust here, because we've been hearing about how this bridge, and that's why the monies have been going up, because it's been more than 6 years. In fact, quite honestly, I was the one who raised the question about why hasn't reserves been put away from our tax dollars. And I also raised the question years ago about the increase in the steel prices, because that was still a factor back then. So the monies just keep going up. I just don't get it. I don't understand how this town cannot replace a bridge that you've been dealing with for more than 6 years. June 15 is the first thing that I quickly found out in terms of the first meeting, certainly not the first request, because I know the first grant request was put down into Trenton before that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Someone has to answer these questions.
They will be answered. Michael?
Next up is Judith Sullivan.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for letting me speak again. These comments are my...
Sorry, you have to give your address again.
I forgot. Overlook Ridge in Oakland. I have to preface my comments by saying that these comments are my comments and not on behalf of any local regional school board of education that I currently sit on. I just had 3 quick notes that I thought might be helpful. Mr. Chukowski, I was talking not about a statute of repose type of defense by the builder. I was talking about a breach of contract action for the agreement that was signed between Ramapo River Reserve Homeowners Association and the builder when the roads were turned over to the town. There were representations made in that agreement about the quality and maintenance of the roads and bridge during the time that the builder had control. That was the place that I thought you could attack in terms of trying to get the builder back in here with some funds. So not using a date of construction with a potential for defense by a statute of repose, but more a breach of contract action. And I know I did a white paper on this as a courtesy to the town on a pro bono basis. I sent it to the town. I can't find it tonight. I apologize. Otherwise, I'd send it and quote from it again. So I urge you to look at that, Mr. Chukowski, if you're there. I don't see his screen on. He might have stepped off. So if someone could share that with him. 2, with respect to the executive committee next week, I just want to make a suggestion. From what I understand from executive, you're really only permitted to discuss matters in executive that are predominantly personnel based. And this isn't really an issue that's predominantly personnel based. You might have personnel issues in it. You could certainly meet in the executive for that. But just in the interest of trying to be as transparent as possible to the community and to generate some more trust, that maybe you want to just carve out that, meet in executive on that. And as far as raising the money, doing bonds, whatever else needs to be discussed, I urge you to do that in a public session and call an emergency meeting for that, which you could still notice just like you would an executive. And then finally, I was going to suggest that maybe you create an ad hoc committee that has representatives from the Arapahoe River Reserve and from the two neighboring micro developments, if you will, or micro neighborhoods, so that those folks can be transmitters of information to their various neighborhoods, because it doesn't seem to be working with Larry, not for any bad intention, but maybe it's just too much. So maybe you've had one or two homeowners from each of those communities that could be on this ad hoc committee that could assist the town in terms of communication. So those are my only suggestions. I hope you find them helpful. And
Thank you, Judah.
I hope that it all works out.
Thank you. Michael?
Okay, last chance. Raise your hand icon to provide public comment or *9 on a mobile phone. Ann Cedar.
Hi, I'm 33 Winding Ridge.
Hi.
Hi. So something that wasn't made clear tonight. I know there was a lot of outrage about not being informed, and the council wasn't informed, the mayor wasn't informed, nobody was informed. Who was supposed to inform you that, number one, that we're short $1.3 million? Who was supposed to inform you about that? And why didn't they? Whether it's a department, a person, whoever, who was that was supposed to? Second question is the only issue now the 1.3 million, or is it that we're missing permits too? Or is it one issue, is it the money, the permits, is it both? Or is there something else that we also, besides the gas line issue, what else is holding this up? Like, what else needs to be addressed? What can you guys list the things that need to be addressed in order to get this bridge rebuilt, whatever we're doing? And the last question I had is, let's say it is 5.3 million. Is the 4 million already funded? Is that fully funded? So had this 1.3 million issue not come up, would we have been fully funded for this bridge to proceed? And I was gonna say the same thing that the last speaker said, that next week's meeting should be public, and every meeting that has to deal with this bridge should be public. And Larry should be notified that there's a meeting so he can send us, the residents, notification that there's going to be a meeting, just like he did for this meeting, so that we can get access to the Zoom link and participate, because the lack of transparency it's too much at this point. I mean, this isn't a lack of trust anymore, it's beyond that, because we've been dealing with this issue and we keep getting told one thing and another thing happens or doesn't happen really. So next week's meeting, it really should be public, at least part of it, because we should know what's going on and we should be able to speak about it.
Thank you. Michael?
Next up is Stephen Martino.
Yes, hi, Steve Martino, 8 Woods End. I'm not going to beat this issue to death, so I'm going to ask a different question other than the bridge. With regard to the cell tower, is it possible if they're going to put a cell tower in the reserve area that it goes up by the water tower, which is the highest point anyway, rather than just some arbitrary point within the reserve?
We'll get answers for you.
Okay, I see no one further.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. It's very important that we meet next week to discuss personnel. If this council has decided that we should then open up the meeting, let's vote on this now so that it can be advertised in the newspaper. So is there a motion? And it makes a good point, but we have to meet first. We have to talk about personnel first. It's very important.
Mayor,
That'll be at 7:00.
Mayor, you have two parts. You have an executive session for personnel, and if you're going to discuss the finances, you can do that in open.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is there a motion to have an open meeting right after the executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So for the residents who are listening, and we will advertise this next Wednesday, that is May, what is that? Oh, Cinco de Mayo. Russ reminded me, sorry.
May 5th.
Next Wednesday at 7:00, we will have an executive session, virtual on via Zoom. Right after the meeting, we will have an open meeting. I don't know how long. Do we have to give a time, Brian?
No. You will have executive session and then open after when executive session is concluded.
Okay. And that could be advertised just that way in the paper properly. That's a proper advertisement?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So.
Just so you're aware, you're in violation of your bylaws.
Which bylaws that we just voted on? I'm so confused today.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Oh, it's 10 o'clock already? I don't have my glasses on. Wait a minute. It's 10 o'clock?
About it. I believe the council could dispense with the business as fast as they could make a motion.
Okay, make a motion, please, to extend a few more minutes.
I move to extend it 10 minutes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, quick. Bills to be paid. Russell Talamini.
Bills to be paid, $2,351,134.18. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Everybody read the bills to be paid before they voted?
Yes.
Since no one said no, everybody has the right to vote. Roll call.
Councilman Bialy,
Yes.
Councilman Kamala,
Yes.
Councilman Pignatelli,
Yes.
Councilman Sisinski,
Yes.
Councilman Talamini.
Yes.
Motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to close. And who made the seconds?
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next week, May 5th, 7:00 is a special executive session. Right after the executive session, we will go into open session and it will be via Zoom, and you will be able to register for the Zoom invite on the website, correct, Michael?
Yes.
And with that, and then the following week, May 12th, will be a regular council meeting. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.